right, folks. So welcome back to Real Talk, our podcast that we just really want to inspire and talk real business about real estate. Today, we have our special guest, Loida, on board. Loida, what is up? How's it going?
What's up? I'm doing great, and I'm really excited to, chat and share my story and let everyone know how I got started.
Wicked, wicked. Yeah, so for everyone that's looking at this, that's watching this, this is our third round of Real Talk, kind of third episode. The purpose of this podcast is just to really dissect rockstar agents like Loida from Team BC. We had Brian on here earlier, the first one, just to really find out, okay, what's the secret sauce? Is there even a secret sauce? And what is the story behind your success? We don't want the fluffy stuff, Loida. We want the real shit. So give us what were your struggles growing up, going into real estate? And I'll just kind of get into that. So for our viewers watching this is going to be recorded. This is recorded. You're going to get some insights as to how you can apply this to your business, but we're hoping to get you inspired. Okay, so that's it. So Loida, introduction. Where do you live now?
Yes, so right now I live in South Florida, but I am originally from Los Angeles, California, born and raised. That's where I grew up. I went to college. I got my degree in business, marketing, and advertising. Prior to getting into real estate in 2015, I did advertising for about 8 years, and I absolutely loved what I did. I was working with high-profile clients in entertainment, automotive, consumer products, traveling all over the country, doing ride and drives, auto shows. So I was living the life in my 20s, not married, no kids. Everything's getting paid for, living out of a hotel, suitcase to suitcase. But it got to the point that, I didn't want to be doing that for the rest of my life. And towards the end of that run, I decided that I wanted to pursue more of an office job, because up to that point, I was just traveling pretty much 100% of the time. And I loved it. If it wasn't for those jobs that I had, I wouldn't have been able to travel all over the country and gone to states and see places that I was able to. So I remember being in Chicago in 2014. It was at the Chicago Auto Show. It was -30 degrees, and I was working ride and drives for Toyota, and it was so cold. And I was like, you know what? I don't see myself doing this until I'm older. Yeah. And that's when I started to look at opportunities, more, corporate jobs in an office type of thing, because I thought that was going to be the path to success, to six figures, to be an executive at some type of company. And I ended up getting recruited by Herbalife in downtown LA, the corporate headquarters, which was about 5 miles away from where I lived. So everything worked out perfect. I became a project manager at Herbalife Corporate. I was there for about 5 months because it was project based. And when I was there working at a cubicle, that's when I realized how much I hated being in an office. And at the same time, I thought, I want to continue growing. So what if I go back to school? So I decided to go back to school, enroll to get my master's in business, my MBA. I got accepted to that. I started doing that. And then that's kind of when I started to look into real estate, because even though I was working at these companies, I felt that I was being overworked and underpaid and not appreciated. And I was like, you know what, there has to be, a better option out there. So I decided to look into real estate at the end of 2014. Got my license in 2015. When I knew that I was going to go 100% to real estate, I ended up dropping out of the MBA program, pursuing real estate. And that's kind of where it led me to where I am now.
Interesting. So that's a lot to unpack, Loida. So let me just go back a bit. So you wanted to get into an office job. You were kind of just dabbling around. So first of all, why did you want to even work? What was your passion? To make money? What was it? Was it a need? Was it a struggle to support your family? Why did you even want to work?
So when I was in college, I initially went to school and I was majoring in sociology because I thought, I want to help people.
Yes.
That's what I thought I needed to get into. Now, my very first job in college was working for a marketing company as a brand ambassador. So we were representing a soft drink, and we were going to colleges and universities, festivals, concerts, and I was giving out free stuff, talking to people. Everyone was super happy and excited. So that
Yes.
was kind of like my first experience at putting myself out there in an uncomfortable environment and people responding well. So when I saw that, I was like, man, I'm getting paid well and I just
Yeah.
give away free stuff and represent some company and everyone loves it. That's kind of when I transitioned from sociology to marketing. And as I got my degree and I started working at that company, I started to meet other people at these events where I was working at different advertising agencies and marketing companies. And I just pretty much started to brand and promote myself to see if they needed any additional help. So even for those 8 years that I did marketing and advertising, I was
Yeah.
pretty much an independent contractor, working my own hours, building my own schedule, working with a lot of different companies. And I just loved it. I didn't have an actual, boss that I had to report to. It was just more like contract based. I was getting paid well at that time, and that's kind of how I ran with it. But again, it got to a point that, I wanted something more stable. I wanted to be able to help my family. I wanted to have something more consistent
Yes.
that would allow me to travel and be present a lot of the time, because for all of those years that I was out traveling, I was never able to be at home or with my friends or attend, birthdays or gatherings or things like that. So that's kind of how that transition happened.
That's interesting because most agents that are watching this, they're gonna say like they're transitioning from some sort of background. Either they're, I know engineers just getting their license and architects and people just getting into it. So it's interesting that you found kind of your path. So what was like where are you from? Like what's your background? Where are you from, country wise? What's that journey? Let's talk about that a bit. Like your
Yeah,
family and
so my family is from Central America. They're from El Salvador, and they
nice.
came to the US in the 80s. I was born in Los Angeles, like I mentioned, in
Nice.
88. So
Yeah.
you can do the math how old I am. And with them, when my parents came over, I mean, they didn't know any English. They were just very hard workers. They knew that if they had a child when they came here, to give them as much, resources and opportunities as possible. So for me, growing up, I always had in mind of, what, when I make it, I want to be able to help my family. I want
Nice.
to be able to support them. My very first year when I got into real estate, one of my goals was for me to be able to help my mom retire. My dad had already retired. My mom was still working. So my goal was for her to stop working. And that was like my biggest goal that I had. And I was able to accomplish it because it drove me to be able to do things that I didn't possibly want to do in real estate,
Yeah.
prospecting, getting yelled at, all of those things that we go through as real estate agents. And that's kind of how that happened. I'm an only child. So for me, I've always grown up around older people. I feel like so I matured mentally at a younger age, and I always just was very focused in the things that I wanted to do.
That's great. Yeah, that's interesting because I also grew up like with my grandparents, and it does mature you a lot faster, right? So especially if you go through struggles, and anyone watching this right now, it's not all fluffy. There's not all like you see someone like Loida, that has been like 80, what do you have? 80,000 subscribers on YouTube, 80 plus
Yeah.
thousand. I will unpack that a bit as well. But they started from somewhere. Like Elon Musk has a story, like freaking Steve Jobs has a story. All these successful people, but then we tied into real estate. You started from somewhere, right? So you started from somewhere. So what would be your like the biggest struggle you as a woman coming into real estate? Did you find you were being treated differently? Because I know a lot of viewers, females especially, this is a touchy topic. Did you find any resistance when you started out in your real estate career?
If anything, it felt a little more intimidating because I remember getting my license and wanting to see what it was like to be an agent. And I would
Yeah.
go on YouTube and all I would see would be men talking about real estate and real estate training and coaching. And, that's actually one of the reasons why I started my YouTube channel, because I wanted a woman's perspective on real estate. There wasn't any women out there. There were a few that I would come across, but they weren't being consistent. So I said, you know what? I want to put out my journey out there from a younger woman that's going through this from the start, what I'm learning, what I'm going through, what's working, not working. And I just started to put out that content because I wanted to make sure that if there were any other women that were getting into this business, for them to see that, you can make it if you really are dedicated, focused, that you can be just as good as anybody else. And especially in sales, I think a lot of people think and assume that women are nicer or, oh, I'm sorry. And we talk. Yeah. But the moment that you work on your skills, I mean, you can be lethal over the phone or in person. And that's exactly what my goal was when I got into real estate. I'm like, I'm going to be just as good, if not better, than all of these other agents or men that are in the business.
Yes, yes. That's what attracted me to you in the first place, like several years ago, before you even knew who I was. It was like, this girl is like friggin' great. Like, and I'm all about like women and putting them in forefront. So anyone watching this, real estate agents, if you're watching this and you're a woman, this is exactly kind of an example. You can follow Loida. We'll connect all that just to connect you. But this is kind of the path that you can follow. And Loida is living, breathing proof that you can make it with just some consistency and hard friggin' work. So what was your struggle? Let's talk about your struggle. Let's talk about like when you got into real estate. I know a lot of new agents, maybe for new agents, let's talk about that a bit. New agents, women, men, getting into real estate, their challenges. We know the statistics, the first 5 years, 80% of agents are going to fail. Right. So what was your struggle and how'd you overcome it?
I think that one of my biggest struggles was that I felt that I was putting in the work, but I thought, I wasn't getting any results. So I'm like, maybe I'm not meant for this, or maybe I'm not good enough. And then we start feeding all of this negativity into our head, when in reality, what I needed to focus on was how far I had come from the start. So I was doing what I needed to be doing. I was told, you need to role play, you need to practice your scripts, memorize that, prospect. If you don't have any deals going on, you got to be on the phones or making those contacts. And I was doing all of that, but it was taking much longer than I thought that it was. And it wasn't like I got into the business and I thought, oh, until like in 2 weeks, I'm going to get my first deal and I'm going to be a millionaire now. I knew that I had to put in work, but it gets to the point where you almost feel discouraged because you don't see anything happening. But for me, when I made that switch in my mindset and I started focusing on the improvements, that's kind of when I started to attract better business or more hot clients and leads. And once I started to convert them, it was almost like a snowball effect, and it was one after the other. And that's when I realized, like, even though I wanted to maybe give up, the fact that I stayed consistent, this is the result that I was looking for. Now let's just keep on going.
I love that. I love that. Because we're going to, like, with so many times, I felt like quitting too. Like, you want to just get the heck out of this business, go back to your corporate job and just do that. So a lot of agents that are going to be watching this, you'll know. So why didn't you quit? Like, what was it? And it's not money. Like, it's always about, I closed the deal. My commission check was this, but like, why didn't you quit? Because you were almost there, maybe?
Mm-hmm. Well, like I mentioned earlier, one of the biggest motivations for me was helping my mom retire. Yes. I didn't want to see her working. So for me, it was like, I got to make this happen. I'm the only child. If it's not me, she's going to continue working. And she's already been working there for, over 25 years. It's time for, for me to get her out of that. And now I'm going to be the one supporting my family. So that's what really motivated me to just continue and keep on going. Because at the same time, getting into real estate is not something that a lot of people do. And not a lot of people have success. In my family, there's no one that is in real estate. Most of our family is still in Central America. So for me to succeed, it would be a big deal. And it would be something that would encourage and motivate others that, like, Loida is doing big things. So giving up was not an option for me.
That's amazing. So let's switch gears. So you said basically you built your business on cold calling. So like cold calling, like one of the aspects, I know expireds and what else, but cold calling to me is like near and dear, having worked through like multiple call centers in my life, calling their states, people swearing at you and all that stuff. Nobody and coming from a coaching background, nobody wants to make freaking calls. Okay, just nobody wants to make calls. They want to drive the fancy car. They want to dress nicely, be in the marketing videos. They want to do all the fun stuff, but they don't want to actually put in the work. So what's your best advice to anyone watching this about cold calling that you can give someone to motivate them and say, hey, like this light at the end of the tunnel? What's your structure? But maybe just give us some insights on how that works.
Yeah, with making cold calls, there are still people that pick up the phone that absolutely need your help. And if you're thinking, oh, well, I don't want to do it, well, then you know what? Somebody else is doing it and they're setting appointments, getting those listings and getting those commission checks that you could have been getting. But because maybe you're like, oh, I don't want to cold call or people yell at me, you're not getting them. So with cold calling, you know, I have been able to convert so many clients. I focused a lot on for sale by owners and expireds because I wanted to go and get listings. So I know that those were the low-hanging fruit. So for me, it was like, okay, you know what? There's a lot of agents that hate cold calling. So I'm going to get so good at it with my objection handling that if I get someone over the phone that sounds remotely motivated or serious about selling, I know I'm going to set an appointment. So that was my mentality. It's like, be so good with my communication and listening skills that people are going to say, you know what, you're really pleasant to speak with. And you're the only agent that I have spoken so much about, you know, my property. And that's just the mentality that I have anytime that I make cold calls. And, you know, we do get those people that yell at us, that cuss you out. But at the end of the day, you know, I don't take anything personal. I have no idea what they're going through. They're probably really annoyed that they're getting calls from agents. But my focus, once again, is the fact that I know that there's someone out there that needs my help. And if I don't make those calls, there might be a shady agent that ends up getting that deal and ends up screwing that person over.
That's it, guys. You heard it first. That's the code to crack this cold calling mystery that we're all in. So I love what you said, though. I love what you said. It's just you're reaching out to see how you can help them. Because so many times agents are making calls. We're making freaking cold calls, but we're approaching it as they're not really cold calls. We're just trying to see how we can provide value. So I love what you said with that. So that's good. So let's talk about now what if there's advice that you would give an agent watching this right now, if they really want to start ramping up their business, because I know you've had some success. Like, what would you say your average your sales volume has been over the last couple of years? Like how much GCI, or if you want to share that.
GCI probably close to 300 or more thousand.
Okay, solid. And that's US for my Canadian
US dollars. Yes.
So that's great. And so would you say your business is consistent year over year, or like how is that working?
Yeah, it has been consistent. And in the beginning, I focused a lot on cold calling. I also did door knocking, but over time, as I started to build my database, it got to the point that now a lot of my business is referrals from past clients, referrals from agents. So I focus a lot on that. And then I have been able to focus on other things like training agents and programs and speaking and doing more stuff.
Yeah, and you're everywhere now. So that's great. And so building the database. I know most agents, they just like, hey, I don't know anybody. I have like 5 friends on Facebook. And, you know, how do you build your database? Like, what was your secret behind building your database? And how many people do you have?
Yeah, so as I was making these phone calls, of course, you're going to get people that are not interested in buying or selling, but you end up having such good conversations that you still want to collect their information. So that's exactly what I would do. I would add these people to like a spreadsheet. I would make sure that I had their email, their phone number, and their address. And then I was just sending out weekly newsletters. Then I would circle back maybe like every other month, just checking in to see if they had any real estate need. And it got to the point that a lot of them knew exactly who I was, and they were sending me their friends and family, even though I had never met them. So that's the goal, to continue just adding people on there, because then it gets to a point that you end up having a database of, 3,000-4,000 people. Yep. And then if you're just consistently staying on top of them, or if they see your name, they're going to start sending you business, and you'll be able to generate deals off of that list.
So you almost have to be like diligently organized with
Yes.
everyone in your database, and you have to love on them and follow up with them on a regular basis. It sounds like, right?
Yes, absolutely. Mhm.
Yeah. Okay, good. And with there's so many friggin' systems out there, Loida. Like, why? Like, how do you sort this out? Like, this person's offering this system, this person's offering this system, and there's so many like templates and scripts and all that stuff. How do you deal with that? Like, how would an agent know where to spend their money? Like, do I
Mhm.
buy this system? Do I, buy into this? Like, what would be what'd you do to kind of work
There
through
are
that?
so many systems out there, and there's
Yeah.
always a new one coming out with
Yeah.
AI and bots and things like that. So for any agent, I would say, look, take a look and see what other agents are using. Shop around, see the prices, because they can be, low price or they could be in the thousands. So at the end of the day, just pick one and stick to it. Learn how to use it, learn how to set up campaigns, learn how to send out emails, and just stick to it and use it consistently. And over time, you're going to get the hang of it and know exactly what to do. Because I think the biggest problem is that, a lot of agents, we have like shiny object distraction syndrome where it's like, oh,
Yeah.
this one sounds better. Let me go buy
Yeah.
this one. And then you never even end up using it or use it consistently.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's exactly what happens. Everyone, just the newest toy that comes out,
Yeah.
they want to go at it. Okay, so let's talk about your YouTube channel. So you've had a lot of success on YouTube, and I know there's a bunch of viewers going to be watching this that are saying, how does the heck does she do it? So what's your advice for someone that might want to start out on YouTube chat, like a YouTube channel, but doesn't know what to do? The question is always, I don't know what content to make. I don't know what to produce, right? So, like, how do you tackle that?
So you got to see YouTube as another way to generate potential leads and also for you to market yourself. So the very first thing is, who are you trying to target? Is it going to be consumers? Is it going to be, other agents? Because sometimes agents tell me, I want to put out educational content. I think you have to become clear first. If you want to get more deals, then, let's create content that is for consumers. Um, Popular topics that you can create content on are answering very specific questions. So what are people searching maybe in your area or your neighborhood, your city, your state? What are some of the things that they are searching? Make those a video. Be very specific. So you don't have to answer like 5 things in one video, just one thing at a time. That's kind of how I started my YouTube channel. When I started my channel, it was just mostly me putting out my journey. And I made videos like how to get your real estate license and how to pass your license exam. So it was like how-to videos. Other great video ideas that also do very well are the ones where you list. So maybe it's like 5 reasons you want to move to this city or 5 reasons you want to stay away. Once you have those ideas, and now, with AI and like ChatGPT, you can easily go in there, type in maybe your topic or some keywords, and it gives you a list of a whole bunch of different video ideas. So there's really no excuse for you to create content. You just have to actually go out there and do it. I would say try to post at least 1 video a week and be very consistent with it, because what's going to happen is that as people start to come across your videos, you want to already have more content on there so that they can stay in your channel and start watching something else. You don't want to be, that person that only has one great YouTube video and then you never
Yeah.
post it again. And then someone goes to your channel like, man, this is a really good video, but maybe this person's not even in the business anymore.
I want more. I want more, right? And there's nothing
Yeah.
more to offer. So this is a question I get a lot from my female coaching clients is what I need to do my makeup and hair every time I go on camera. So how do you address that part of it? Because I know I talk to like a lot of females. They're like, yeah, but I gotta get dressed and I gotta like look all pretty and stuff. For guys, we can just freaking go, right?
Yeah.
So what would you like? What's your advice for a female trying to get on camera and struggling with that, like image kind of thing?
So I would say, look, that's not an excuse. Like if
Okay.
it's important to you, you got to do it. Like wake up 30 minutes before. If you got to put your
Yes.
hair, do your hair, your makeup.
Yeah.
I do it all the time. It's never been an excuse for me. It's like, okay, I'm going to film this afternoon. So we got to
Yes.
get up earlier. I got to have my hair straightened out the night before. But that's because I see this as a business and it generates me leads and it generates me income and money. And if you don't see it that way, then you're going to see it as, oh, well, I got to wake up early and do my hair. Where it's like, then you know what? To make it easy, every single day, wake up early, have your hair done and your makeup done so that if you want to film something, you're ready to go.
Ready to go. Yeah, I love that. So there's no excuses. So
No.
ladies, there's no excuses here. Pre-plan your beauty this.
Exactly. Yes.
And it's honestly, it's like you don't see a weather woman or weatherman looking all shabby and stuff on the TV, right? They're like, it's presentable. And I love what you said about being kind of having that business mindset. So video marketing, YouTube, and everything's about business. But should it always be about business, Loida? Like, should we always come across as that polished professional on our videos?
I would say you just have to be you and be genuine. If maybe, if there's some ladies out there that don't put on makeup or do their hair ever, then that's not you. Don't be putting on this other persona just because you're going to do a YouTube video. At the end of the day, you have to be very genuine and just be you, because that's what people like to watch anyway. There's so many real estate agents out there and so many videos about homes and tours and tips. But if you start incorporating something else about your life or how you are, people connect with you at the end of the day.
Right. Good. So I love that. So, okay. So where can people find you? What do you have going on? I know you have like a lot of events happening and stuff like that. So give us a little scoop. What's happening next in your world?
Yes, I know there's a lot going on. So if you're out here in South Florida, this upcoming Thursday, April 20th, we're doing a video marketing workshop at our office. It's completely free. So I'm going to share even more tips about video marketing. On April 24th, I'm doing an online virtual listing summit. It's completely free and pretty much a link where you guys can go for any events that I'm going to be doing or any trainings, free or paid. You can just go to my website, loidavelasquez.com.
Perfect. And what's your Instagram handle? Again, if someone wants to follow you on there?
Yes, it's Loida Velas.
Okay, perfect. Great. So that's great. So I would say let's close off with some last tips. Anything that you feel because you talk to a lot of agents. I know you talk to a lot of agents and I know you hear their struggles. So what's kind of the last few tips that you can give someone watching this to start really ramping up their business in real estate, whether it be video marketing, cold calling, whatever it is?
We always hear it. Consistency is key. Aside from that, if you feel that you're struggling, that you don't have a lot of deals going on, then you have to increase the number of people that you're talking to. I think that's the biggest issue. A lot of agents are not talking to enough people. And in this business, if people don't know who you are, they're just not going to call you, especially if you're newer in the business. So staying consistent and just talk to more people. Okay.
Love that. Very simple. Good. Okay, guys. So that's it for Real Talk. And you can follow Loida, and she has a lot of stuff coming out. She's really, in my view, a leading industry expert when it comes to real estate and building your real estate online presence. So if you want to follow her, can people reach out to you? Are you open?
Yes.
DMs? Okay, good. So people reach out to her. This is what we do here at Real. We're part of a huge network of like-minded individuals like Loida that really want to help and provide value and just up your real estate game. Perfect. So thanks so much, Loida, and looking forward to chatting with you and having you back on our podcast.
Yes, thank you.
Take care. See ya.